As Israel celebrates its 69th year of statehood, one giant open sore remains: the status of the Arab communities in the disputed territories. Almost everybody can agree that the status quo is undesirable at best. There are no simple solutions to this problem. Israeli attempts to withdraw from land or reach comprehensive resolutions have uniformly resulted in greater terror. At the same time, the status quo has resulted in significant curtailment of Palestinian freedoms, not least by the corrupt and kleptocratic Palestinian Authority and Hamas themselves. The most successful approach to improving the situation has been realized through the separation barrier. Despite Netanyahu's war-making reputation, the death toll on both sides of the conflict has been significantly cut during his administration. But even with, or especially with, the separation barrier, things are jammed into a very uncomfortable and almost uniformly disliked reality. However, at this point, there is a simple adjustment Israel could make that would diminish the flames of conflict while increasing the freedoms of Palestinian Arabs within their own cities and within Israel itself. This adjustment could also improve the freedoms of Jews within Palestinian territory. What is the adjustment? It starts with Israel recognizing individual areas that generate minimal external terrorist activities for 1 year as provisional cantons, with increased rights of travel and trade. They already do this on a case-by-case basis, with these areas having significantly fewer checkpoints and military action and more work permits. But it isn't an officially and publicly understood process. After 2 or 3 years and the demonstration of a basic level of economic, trade, and religious freedom, Israel could grant these cantons full diplomatic recognition with free trade, recognized passports, and functionally open borders with Israel. It would be in Israel's interest to support the creation of these entities, and so reasonable metrics could be established. According to a recent poll by the Israel Democracy Institute, a minuscule proportion of both Jews, 5%, and Arabs, 2%, in Israel feel the Israeli leadership is doing a good job at paying attention to what citizens want. If the cantons are well governed, even some of the less nationalistic Jewish communities in the disputed territories might join these Palestinian-controlled cantons. Judaism has returned to Zion as the core of its belief system. This belief does not necessarily translate into a love of the state. A substantial number of religious Jews feel a stronger connection to the land than to the government. Once established, these cantons could choose to extend their footprint, including incorporating nearby areas, even Arab areas within Israel, as long as there is significant support in those areas for such a move. They could choose to consolidate with other cantons, and they could choose a unified flag or unified security forces if they want to. But they may not want to. As the simple driver on Israel will reveal, different populations that identify as Palestinian have very different relationships with neighboring Jewish populations. These differences reflect great variations in clan, family, and historical allegiances. Some Palestinian areas would never accept this arrangement. They would remain in a permanent state of war, but some would. It is one reason why some towns and cities generate almost no terror, even today. And even if the canton-controlled areas don't extend dramatically, more and more Palestinians might just choose to immigrate to these cantons, depopulating and weakening areas dedicated to unending war. Piecemealing the problem would undermine the repression and corruption of the Palestinian Authority, while also encouraging and rewarding more moderate groups. This approach would result in growing freedoms for Palestinians themselves and a more peaceful environment. It would also allow Israel to recognize some, and hopefully more and more, areas of Palestinian sovereignty, dampening genocidal demands for Israel's destruction. Israel has no obligation to grant concessions to a people who in 1948 and 1967 attempted the genocide of the Jews in Israel. Areas they conquered were cleared of Jews. Jews would be happy to put the past behind them, just as we did with the Germans despite their far more successful attempt at genocide. But more recent concessions, such as the Oslo Accords and withdrawal from Gaza, have consistently resulted in fresh genocidally driven violence. At present, it appears that there will be Palestinians who will remain dedicated to genocide for generations to come. Because the Jewish people would be foolish to enable and reward genocidal impulses, these Palestinians' dedication to genocide precludes the possibility of a comprehensive peace. But many Palestinians can't be described as dedicated to genocide. Instead of being dedicated to genocide, they are trapped by the ideology of those around them. They would be happy to live in peace, just like significant numbers of Arab Israelis and Arabs beyond Israel. The canton approach sidesteps the historical issues, enabling far greater freedoms for those people willing to put war aside. It would also help to isolate the intractable enemies of the Jewish people. Unlike traditional land for peace, the canton approach does not put Israel at risk. Instead, it opens up the possibility of a brighter future, at least for those willing to embrace it.